Welcome to day 7 of our yoga challenge for 30 days in November. Just starting off in an easy seated position, just making sure the basics are right so the spine is long, the chin is tucked, and just maybe sitting up on a block this time. Just going to start noticing the breath. Palms of the hands gently on the knees, or maybe they're just gently placed into your lap. Just noticing and focusing on what the breath feels like this morning. As we start to bring some depth to that breath. As always, breathing in to expand the belly, holding the breath for just a moment before breathing out, bringing the belly button towards the spine, exhaling deeply and purposely through the nose, holding the air outside of the body. As we breathe in, I'm going to rise the arms up over the head, palms touching, and bringing the palms down to the third eye, the lips, and then the chest. Namaste. Bringing some movement here to our breath. We're going to breathe in. We're going to bring the left arm up towards the right side of the head, sprinkling those right fingers across the mat. We're just going to gently guide the ear towards the shoulder. Just feeling a nice little stretch. No forcing here, just making sure that we're feeling a nice stretch, but not uncomfort, should not feel uncomfortable. Breathing in to raise back to center, and we'll switch sides. So placing the left hand on the floor, sprinkling those fingers across the mat, and bringing the right hand towards the left side of the head, gently letting the head just guide the ear towards the shoulder. Breathing in here deeply, enjoying this nice gentle stretch across the neck. Breathing out to release the arms. Breathing in to circle the arms up overhead, palms touching. And we're going to move the left hand over the right knee. And we're looking over that right shoulder. Just a nice side body stretch. Breathing in to create space. Breathing out to move into that space. Using our in-breath to lift and lengthen. And the out-breath to twist. Breathing deeply. Breathing in to bring the arms up overhead, palms touch. And breathing out to bring it to the other side. This time we're looking over that left shoulder. Breathing in to create space. Breathing out to move into that space. Nice, gentle stretch. Trying to lead with the shoulders and not the head. So breathing in, we're going to bring the arms up overhead. And as we breathe out, we're going to place the fingertips facing towards the body, and as we breathe in, we're going to open the chest up. We might just feel it's quite nice to just lower the head back and just moving into the hips, just getting any movement here that feels good to you, opening up the body. Breathing in to come back towards our center, and breathing out, we're just going to fold forward any amount, just seeing how that feels. Gently releasing any tension in the body. Now breathing in to walk the fingertips towards the body. And we're just going to lower down onto our backs. So just gently releasing back, settling the breath, preparing the body for our movements. There are no sun salutations in this practice today, so therefore we're going to use different ways to warm up the body. So bringing the feet together, we're just going to place the hands underneath the hip bones if your back has a tendency to arch. Mine does. We're going to do some double leg raises, so bringing the legs up for a count of 4 and down for the count of 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3, 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 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and bend those knees, lifting up, giving ourselves a nice little hug, releasing the lower back into the mat. Well done. So now we're just going to keep hold of that right leg. We're going to extend the left leg down and returning the head towards the mat. We're going to be doing a twist over the body, so holding on to that right knee, and we're coming over to the left side, looking over our left shoulder. If you'd like to use a block here, you can place the block underneath the knee, just giving it a little bit of support, giving yourself a nice twist, feeling the stretch, breathing into that side body. Breathing in to come back to center, bringing both knees up. Again, maybe making ourselves up into a little ball. And then this time we're going to keep hold of the left knee, extend that right leg. We'll do the same again on the other side. So twisting over to the right. Again, you can use a little block if that's helpful. Looking over the left shoulder. Breathing deep. So breathing in to bring both knees back and towards the center, giving ourselves a little rock, side by side, squeezing ourselves, making ourselves as small as possible. We're then going to place the arms around the legs. We're going to rock ourselves up into a seated position, really massaging down the spine as we do so. So take your time. Sitting in a nice cross-legged position, we're just going to roll the neck around the socket. So just gently feeling what the neck feels like in each of these positions. Spending some time, giving some fluidity to it. Anything that's achy or anything that's a bit crunchy, just spending a little bit more time there maybe. Going at your pace. Rolling the shoulders down, bringing the palms towards heart center. Just taking a moment for our gratitude. Rolling over onto the knees, we're now just going to step back into our downward facing dog. So lifting the hip bones towards the sky, we're just going to stretch out those legs. So just walking the dog out, lifting one leg and then the other, just stretching out those hamstrings, doing any movement here that feels good for you. I always like to come up on my tiptoes and just shift the weight over my wrist just to warm everything up. Now we're just going to come down into our dolphin pose. Now this might be tricky for some people, so you might just want to stay here. So essentially it's downward facing dog, but on the forearms. Otherwise we can do dolphin exercise. So we're bringing the chin beyond the wrists and just sending the hips back and forth, strengthening those shoulders, warming up. So going forward and back, forward and back. Forward and back, forward and back, and forward and back, and forward and back. And now we're just going to come down into a wide-legged child's pose, getting the breath nice and settled and releasing any tension that our warm-up has created. Breathing deeply into the belly, into the side ribs. And then on our next in-breath, we're going to walk the hands towards the body, coming up into a kneeling position. This is our thunderbolt pose. Just settling the breath, connecting back down, centering the mind. Breathing in, we're just going to clasp the hands behind the back. We're going to open the shoulders, look up. And if it feels available to you, we're going to lower down into our rabbit pose. So the crown of the head on the floor, lifting the hips. And then if we can move the arms over the head, any amount. Just opening up the shoulders, feeling a nice deep stretch. Breathing into the pose again. Don't hold your breath here. Make sure you're breathing deeply. Breathing in to come back to our thunderbolt pose, releasing the hands and just centering the thoughts and the breath again. So from here, we're going to use a block for the next set of poses. So as you breathe in, you're going to bring the right foot forward, and we're just going to center ourselves here. Just make sure that we're nice and sturdy, create a nice base. Breathing in, and as we breathe out, we're going to lean into that front hip, bending into the knee, and just seeing how this feels. Should feel a nice stretch along the back hip. Using the block for support. Breathing in, we're going to bring the block in between our hands, and we're going to get a bit of a crescent lunge going on here with the block in between the hands. The biceps are by the ears. Breathing out, we're going to lean back, we're going to straighten that front leg. We're going to tap the foot with the block. So a little half Hanuman. Breathing in, bending into that front knee, and we're going to hold the block above the head. Breathing out as we then straighten into that front leg, coming back into our half Hanuman, tapping the toes with the block. Moving with the breath, but don't forget to pause. So breathing in, bending into that front leg, block comes overhead, and breathing out as we then straighten that front leg and come down into our half Hanuman with the block tapping the toes. Again, breathing in, bringing the block up over the head, and then this time we're going to release the block down to the right side, keeping the left arm up in the air, and then we're just going to bend over to that right side, looking underneath that left shoulder. And again, if we can get a bit more of a lean with those hips, just do what feels comfortable for you. Breathing deeply into this side body. Well done, yogis. Breathing out to release back down into a half Hanuman, keeping hold of the block if that feels helpful. And then we're just going to walk that back into our thunderbolt pose. We'll do the same again on the other side. So breathing in, we're going to place that left foot forward. And again, centering ourselves, giving ourselves that stable foundation. Making sure that we grab our block, ready for the next sequence. So breathing in, we're going to lean forward. We're going to open that hip up, leaning into that front knee, using the block for a little bit of support. As we breathe in, we're going to bring the block up over the head, using the biceps to keep it tight. Holding here, and as we breathe out, tapping back into our half Hanuman. Breathing in to bend into that front knee. The block goes up. Breathing out as we straighten that leg, tapping the toes with the block, half Hanuman. Breathing in, leaning forward, arms up. And breathing out as we tap those toes. Breathing in, block is overhead. And we're releasing the block down to the left side. Breathing in with the right arm and breathing out as we stretch into the left. Again, get any lean in that you'd like with that front knee. Really stretching and breathing into that side body. Breathing in to come back up, and then we're just going to do another Hanuman on this side. So again, you can release the block for this if you like, or you can still use the blocks. Absolutely fine, it's all up to you. Breathing in to bend forward, we're going to replace that knee right back, coming back into our thunderbolt position. And again, taking a moment to just strengthen our breath, reconnect. Breathing in to come back into our rabbit pose. So again, you might want to clasp the hands behind the back and coming over onto the crown of the head, lifting the arms above, giving ourselves a nice stretch. Breathing in to come back to center in our thunderbolt pose, and then this time we're going to come into a hero pose. So you might want to sit on a block here if that feels available to you. I'm going to essentially bring the heels to the side of the body. So if this is no good for the knees, skip this pose or do any modification that feels good. If you want to go further, you're welcome to start walking back. If not, just sitting upright. This is our pose. If you want to take it further, maybe we can lean back a little bit. See how this feels. I'm still sitting up on the block at this point. So again, if you want to try that with the block, maybe you can get some movement here. Just explore the pose. Maybe you can come down onto the elbows. See how that feels. Breathing deeply. Maybe you can bring the head to the floor. See how that feels. Now this doesn't feel so good for me. So I get up and I'm going to just remove the block from underneath me and just flatten myself out. If you'd rather have the block, if you'd rather just use any other version of this pose, you're welcome to. Again, it's your practice. Don't do anything that's going to be harmful for the body. Make sure that it feels good for you. What feels good for me there is I like to bring my arms up overhead, breathing deeply into this pose. Really nourishing pose here. But only nourishing if it feels good for you. If it doesn't, don't do it. Breathing in, we're going to gently bring ourselves up to seated. So making sure that we're looking after the back, looking after the knees. So as we get up from here, I like to put a block underneath me. And then I'm just going to gently help my knees along, closing the socket before stretching things out so that I'm not causing any damage. Just coming up into your little cosmic egg here, so bringing the full head towards the knees, curling up into a little ball. We're just going to come into our Baddha Konasana. So just bringing the soles of the feet together. So the closer the feet are towards the body, the harder it is. If you want to just have a nice gentle passive version, you can put the feet away from the body. We're just going to gently bounce the knees up and down. So I'm on a block here because it gives me a nice little bit of an extra tilt. But you might like to remove the block. It's entirely up to you. We're going to keep hold of the left foot. We're going to stretch out the right foot. We're going to just come into a nice seated tree forward fold. So breathing in, arms up, breathing out. We're going to reach towards the toes or the ankle or the shin, or maybe just towards the mat, whatever feels good for you. So again, as we breathe in, we're lifting and lengthening. And as we breathe out, we're moving into any space that may have just become available to us. So just seeing how this feels. So I'm still sitting on a block for this one as well. It gives you that extra little bit of a tilt. But if it feels better to do it without, do it without. It's your practice. Breathing in to bring the arms back up overhead. We're going to place the left hand on the floor. We're just going to lift up the hips, bringing the right arm overhead. And breathing out to release back down onto the block or onto the floor. Let's do it again. The other side. So left leg is extended. Right foot coming into the thigh. Breathing in, arms up. Breathing out as we hinge forward, and again, grabbing whatever feels available to us. So toes, ankles, shins, anything that feels good. Breathing deeply into this pose, creating strength, creating length. So breathing in to bring that right arm back, breathing in to lift the left hand, and bringing the hips up towards the sky. Breathing deeply into the side body. And breathing out to rotate back down into our seated position. Now I'm removing the block. You may like to stay on your block. We're just going to sit in a staff position, nice and tall. If you'd like to use your block differently, you're breathing in to bring the block up overhead and breathing out to place the block behind the feet. See how that feels. Breathing in to create space, breathing out to go into that space. Or maybe you'd like to place the block underneath those knees and just get a nice stretch across the hamstrings. Maybe we can reach a little bit further with the block underneath the knees, supporting yourself to get into that pose. And again, don't forget, the body has a muscle memory. So if we can get there, even with the block, the body will remember that. Breathing in to look up, flat back. Breathing out to see if we can get that stretch even further. Breathing in to create some space. Breathing out again, see if we can go even further this time. I like to have a little sway in this pose. Breathing into releasing the pose. We're just going to grab the block. We're just going to place it behind us on the mat, just where roughly the shoulder blades will meet. So on our next breath out, we're just going to lower ourselves back down, and we should be lying on top of the block, and we're just opening the chest up with the block underneath us, stretching the neck out long. Now, I actually didn't position mine very well, so I just wanted to just readjust, make sure that it feels good. So just finding your spot, and when you're happy with that, just surrendering to the pose, breathing deeply in and out. Connecting with your breath. Breathing in to look towards your feet, removing the block. And now we're just going to bring the knees in towards the chest. And again, just rocking gently to release any tension in the lower back, releasing the upper back. And from here, we're just going to place the soles of the feet on the mat. We're going to do 3 versions of bridge. So in the first one, using the block, as we breathe in, we're going to place the block underneath just where the tailbone would be. And just having a nice passive, restorative version of our bridge pose. A nice relaxation, breathing deeply into the body, but letting go of any tension. Now gently removing the block, we're just going to roll down vertebrae by vertebrae back onto the mat and bringing the knees in for a little hug. Maybe we want to just circle the knees round, just releasing any tension that may have built up. When we're ready, releasing the feet back to the mat. And again, we're going to use our block differently here as well, so you can use a previous version. We're going to squeeze the block with the knees, and as we breathe in, we're going to lift the hips up, and we're going to really squeeze the block in between our knees, keeping everything all in alignment. Again, this can be as passive or as active as you like, so if you want more spice from this, lifting the hips up even higher, sending the chest towards the chin. If not, it could be as passive as you like as well. Breathing out to release the vertebrae by vertebrae, taking the block from the knees. Then maybe you'd like to windscreen wipe your knees from side to side, or maybe you'd like to give them a nice little hug, bringing them towards the chest. We'll keep doing circles, whatever feels good for you. And again, releasing the feet back to the ground, we're going to come up to our third and final version of our bridge. So you may want to put the block on the side, have a wider legged version, or maybe you'd like to just see if we can walk those feet in. But breathing in, we're going to push the hips towards the sky. I chose to bring my arms up overhead. I wanted a nice active yet passive pose for this version. Breathing deeply here as well, holding everything where it's supposed to be, pushing up if you want a bit more, breathing out as we lower back down, bringing the knees in towards the chest, bringing the forehead to meet the knees, and just give ourselves a nice little rock from side to side. And now we're just going to grab the feet into our happy baby pose, showing the sky, the soles of the feet, and again just releasing the back. I like to bring my soles of the feet together into the little Baddha Konasana, but on our reclined pose. Just seeing how that feels. And then as we breathe out, sending the feet towards the corners of the mat, and we're just shutting down now into our Shavasana, our final resting pose. I'm actually going to place the block just under the head, giving myself a nice little lift, breathing here deeply as we settle the breath back down to our nice easy breaths. Just releasing any tension from the body. Here's a lovely poem by Melody Beattie. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Just allowing the whole body to just gently release, releasing the breath. Maybe you'd like to take your left hand onto your heart and your right hand onto your belly and just connect with the peace, with the breath. Just bringing some awareness back to the body. We're just going to wiggle the fingers and the toes and maybe gently rolling the head along the back of the mat. Removing the block if it's behind your head, or you can keep it there. Breathing in to give ourselves a full body stretch. And as we breathe out, we're going to bring the knees up towards the chest, the forehead towards the knees perhaps. And then we're just going to roll over to the right hand side. And again, just taking a moment to connect with the earth before sitting ourselves up. Into a cross-legged position at the top of the mat, keeping the eyes gently closed. We're going to rub the palms of the hands together really fast, creating some heat, then placing the palms over the eyes, gently blinking the eyes open, and then just running your fingers through the scalp, giving yourself a nice massage, maybe down the neck, just feeling around, just giving yourself that gratitude, that love for showing up today. Breathing in, circling the arms up overhead, and breathing out, palms to third eye, to lips, and to the heart. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.